seems like everyone's kind of a little bit down these days, huh? At least, especially in sort of in my generation, the Zoomers, the sort of, especially though the people who are 18 to 25, you know, supposedly the sort of mental health crisis is so much worse for us, and supposedly, the suicide rate's higher. And I guess I wanted to talk about that, sort of on being down, on depression and on mental health. Speaking from experience, I can tell you that I, have had my own sort of struggles with it, struggles that also include sort of substance abuse, nothing illicit, but, sort of like alcohol, marijuana, DMT, sort of that kind of thing. And it feels like it's a very tough thing to break out of after a while, just because you get this feeling literally like you're physically being dragged down by kind of like by Stonehenge. You got fucking Stonehenge on your back, right? But it's one of those things, man. I have a complicated relationship. I go through good spells, I have bad spells. I've been in and out of counseling and therapy and all sorts of things that supposed to sort of help make me feel better, make me feel not bad or whatever, or supposed to sort of stabilize it. I've never sort of taken any sort of medication yet for any of that stuff. As to why, I suppose doctors who have looked at me and who gave me all the referrals, I assumed they probably didn't need them. But it's all to say that, I have had spells that go in and out, and I've had substance abuse issues in the past, and, it's tough to sort of keep going. I think that, it's easier to say. I think that it's one of those things, it's hard to say. What's the problem, right? Because nobody likes to hear that the problem is themselves. And I'm not saying that the reason why people are depressed is because, they're their own biggest enemy or whatnot. But I also not sure necessarily if I subscribe to the idea that the world is the issue. Of course, there's a lot of things that are messed up with the world, of course. Fully, completely, right? I mean, you can look at the Middle East and you can see the sort of the Israel-Palestine stuff, right? I'm not going to get into the weeds of that, but in general, the whole situation is on both sides. People are getting hurt, and ultimately, from my philosophy, that's bad. I think for most people, right? Not just my philosophy, but was quote unquote, but yeah, or you look at like sort of India, Pakistan now, or you just look at all the major conflicts that have happened over the years and all the minor things, and sort of all coalesces, and you hear about politicians doing what this and doing what not. I mean, the other day you had that, you had that one mayor, the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, got arrested, which is, I feel like, kind of unprecedented. I'm not sure if in my lifetime I ever remember reading in the news about some major political figure like the mayor of a major city getting arrested for, I'm not going to say what he got arrested for. I think that in and of itself is controversial. Some say he was protesting, some say he was breaking into a facility. I don't know. I'm not too well versed on either of those, but those all just serve as examples of like, yeah, the world seems a little bit, a little crazy. And I think that that's not necessarily incorrect, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to do your best to try to make the world a better place, but to a degree insulate yourself a little bit. And that's not to say you should be ignoring all the world's problems. That's definitely not what I'm saying. I think you should be very much keeping an eye out for things, but it's easy for the individual to think that he has very little impact, right? That he can't do anything. That he's just one person, right? So what am I gonna do? That's one of those things that, like, it's not about, people. Yeah, you're not gonna. I don't know if you're gonna start a revolution, like it's some sort of overthrow capitalism or whatnot. I also don't know if capitalism will take over and we'll have some kind of 1984 whatever. But it's about doing what you can as a person. It's not about. Unfortunately, like it'd be great if you could. If my actions could incite greater change and positivity to the world, and that is my attempt in doing these videos. That's my attempt of doing that. But what I'm saying is, yes, I think the world is bad. I don't think that the reason you're depressed is necessarily 100% because the world is bad. I think it's a combination of your own personal factors. I think it's a combination of society and the world, and just in general, the negativity that I think is very commonplace these days. So what do I do, right? How can I, just to share with you guys, how do I get over being a little bit down, being a little bit depressed? I try to do what I can from my level. I'm not going to aim for something crazy. Certainly, there are people who try to do that, and props to them. But, I will, if I start feeling bad, I'll go for a walk or whatever. I'll do this, I'll do that. I'll go for a swim. I play guitar, so sometimes I play guitar. But sort of the main thing is, I think, no matter what level of sort of sadness you are, and this is my only real advice, because I could tell you what I do to make me feel better, but it might not work for you. It might work for you, who knows? But the one thing I do think that you should do, no matter what, no matter how sad you feel, no matter what happened in your life, as provided you're sort of able-bodied, you should just do things. Don't slump into this kind of like mood of, oh, I'm so sad. I can't get out of bed. It's true. I've been there. It's very hard to sort of get out of bed. But if it's and mental things like that can feel as real as physical things. In fact, they incite similar sort of motor responses, I believe. So in a way that it is physically harder for you to get out of bed, but you're a God willing, you're a healthy person, right? And you have some degree of energy, perhaps. Well, the only thing you really can do is take it one day at a time, and by all means, don't sort of do nothing. Don't let yourself just sit around and be comfortable. It's easy to want comfort when you're feeling down, right? You want to sit in your room. You have your computers, you have your like TV or something, you have your music, you have your your little bed, and you have your room you can close into. You have your phone that you can scroll on, and it certainly feels safe, but that's not really something that is permanent, and it's certainly not, I don't think, a healthy way. So go out. If it's really tough for you, step out of your bed, get some clothes on, and just leave your house. Go to this, walk forward, take like 5 steps, and then turn back around and go back in. That's like the limit for you, But do something, I think. Go outside and walk, or go, within reason. Within reason, don't overextend yourself, but do things. That's what I think. In my case, as I was showing, whenever I'm depressed, I like to go to walk. There's this really beautiful hike in my area that I can go to. I enjoy doing, but even if I don't like to do a full hike, I can do just a normal walk through the city I live in. I also like to swim, play guitar. I've mentioned, for some people, when they're sad, they want to hang out with friends. That's usually not me, but for some people that works. And it has worked in the past. For me, it's a bit on and off. But the gist of it is, it's true. It's kind of tough to be. Especially if you're my age range, we have sort of more mental health problems, I think, than sort of other age ranges. It's tough. It's tough to figure out what you want to do. It's tough to sort of stay continuously happy, It sometimes feels like you won't really ever be able to, but I know for a fact that there is some sort of good future for every single person in the world, and I think that it starts with getting out of bed and doing something every day, right? No matter how sad you feel. And that's sort of the gist of what I wanted to say. And I hope everyone is enjoying their Monday. And, have a great one.